Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're cracking open one of the most dangerous and, frankly, influential books ever written, Niccolò Machiavelli's The Prince. For 500 years, its ruthless lessons on power have been debated, they've been denounced, and let's be honest, they've been secretly put into practice. But here's the thing you have to understand right from the start. The Prince wasn't just some abstract political theory. Nope. It was a high-stakes, absolutely desperate job application. See, Machiavelli was writing directly to the new ruler of Florence, a guy named Lorenzo de' Medici, basically offering this little volume as proof that he was an indispensable advisor. So let's start right there with the book's true purpose, because this context, well, it's the key to everything. This was never meant for you and me. It was a private manual for a prince's eyes only. Right in the dedication, Machiavelli makes this really brilliant move. He says, you can't get the best view of the mountains from the peaks. You've got to be down in the plains. And in the same way, he argues, to truly understand the nature of a prince, you have to be one of the people. He's not just another flatterer. He's positioning himself as this essential outsider, someone with a perspective the prince desperately needs to hear. So, what was the core problem? What was the big issue Machiavelli was trying to solve for Lorenzo? Well, it all boiled down to one thing. Lorenzo was a new prince, and according to Machiavelli, that is the most dangerous job in the entire world. So Machiavelli immediately separates the easy job from the hard one. If you just inherit a kingdom, hey, your main task is basically not to mess things up. But if you're a new ruler, oh, you are in a terrible bind. The people who helped you get power, you can never really satisfy them. And the people you defeated, well, now they hate you. You're completely surrounded by enemies and unreliable friends from day one. Okay, so how do you solve this impossible dilemma? Well, Machiavelli provides a very practical, if ruthless, playbook for securing a new state. And this is where his infamous advice really starts to kick in. First things first, a prince has to understand the two fundamental forces that govern absolutely everything: his own ability, what Machiavelli calls virtù, and just sheer luck, or fortuna. Relying on luck might get you to the top, but it's a disastrous way to stay there. Real, lasting security, he says, comes from virtù. That's the skill to seize an opportunity and the strength to build your own foundations. So he lays out 3 really concrete steps for holding a new territory. 1, don't rule from a distance. You've got to live there. This lets you stamp out problems before they get too big. 2, don't occupy the place with a massive, expensive army that just makes everyone angry. Instead, send loyal colonies. And 3, you have to play chess with your neighbors. That means building alliances with the weak and actively undermining the strong. And this thinking leads to one of his most chilling calculations. When you have to injure someone, there is absolutely no room for half measures. A small injury, he says, just creates an enemy who still has the power to get revenge. A devastating, crushing injury, well, that removes their ability to do so. It's brutal, for sure, but in his mind, it's a completely logical way to eliminate future threats. This ruthless logic, as you can imagine, leads directly to the book's most famous and disturbing question, one that leaders have wrestled with ever since. And here it is, the timeless dilemma. Is it better to be loved than feared? Of course, Machiavelli says, in a perfect world, a ruler would be both. I mean, who wouldn't want that? But since being both is nearly impossible, he concludes that if you have to choose one, fear is the far safer, more reliable tool. His reasoning is cynical, but pretty simple. Love is fickle. Men, he says, are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, covetous. Their affection is totally conditional. Fear, on the other hand, is maintained by a dread of punishment which never fails. But here's the nuance that so many people miss. Fear is a tool, sure, but hatred is a poison that will absolutely destroy a prince. And for Machiavelli, the line between them is crystal clear. You must not take your subjects' property or their women. In one of his most cynical lines ever, he says that people will get over the execution of a family member faster than losing their inheritance. A feared prince is respected, a hated one gets overthrown. So, to maintain this delicate balance, to be feared but not hated, a prince can't just rely on brute force. He needs to develop a kind of dual nature. To make his point, Machiavelli uses this powerful metaphor. A ruler must be both a lion and a fox. The lion is pure strength, enough to frighten off the wolves, the obvious threats. But the lion isn't smart enough to avoid traps. For that, you need the cunning of the fox. A prince who is only a lion or only a fox is doomed. To survive, you absolutely need both raw strength and subtle craftiness. And this right here is the fox's logic in action. A prince has to appear to be virtuous, merciful, faithful, all that good stuff. But in reality, he must be prepared to be the exact opposite when the survival of the state is on the line. Why? Because other men aren't good, and they'll break their promises to you, so you are not bound to keep yours to them. It's a total rejection of traditional morality, all in favor of cold political necessity. So after 500 years, why does this cold-blooded advice continue to fascinate and disturb us so much? Why is the word Machiavellian still a part of our language today? The Prince forces us to confront a really uncomfortable question about power itself. Is Machiavelli just describing a brutal bygone era, or did he reveal timeless, uncomfortable truths about what it really takes to gain and hold power, whether that's in politics, in business, or maybe even in our own lives? And that is the unsettling legacy of this dangerous little book.